Cancer. Welcome to your 2022 Year of the Tiger reading. This reading applies from now until next February. All right, let's get into it. So, you're coming out of a period of enormous isolation. Coming out of a period of isolation is really disconcerting. So many of you right now may be feeling like you've been ripped out of your shell. That's not exactly what's happened. It's just that you've been alone, emotionally, regardless of what your actual situation is, for so long that now that it's time to get back to you, it's time to share yourself with people. It's time to do it for yourself. It feels like being uprooted. It feels like you're being thrown on stage without any clothes on. You feel exposed. But there is a way to own this energy. What this actually is an invitation back into the world. An invitation that you will be very glad that you took, even if it feels really scary right now. This re-entry into the material world, into the public, it comes with its own challenges and its own requirements. One of them being you taking a look at the nature of your contribution, that which you love to do, which is to give. What is the nature of that giving? What is the quality of that giving? Is that quality up to your own standards? Or are there things that you need to learn or relearn? What needs to be let go of? These are all questions that come with being back in the flow of your life. And what can the flow of your life not handle anymore? You see all these cards of expansion, good luck, freedom? They're all right next to cards that expect something of you. It is the quality of your giving that now will determine your place in society. See, what you've been doing is you've been giving quietly, in an isolated manner, to a few people. And you've been doing so for years. Now, all of a sudden, February begins, and you're being dragged out into the light. You're being dragged out, as well as your accomplishments, and you're being asked to either explain yourself or, well, your vibe is under scrutiny. You have so many more people looking at you. And that wake-up call is very severe. I can do what I do, but I don't know if I want to do it in front of a million eyes. I don't know if I have what it takes to retain the emotional balance that this will require of me. What do you mean? I have to go back out there in the world and live by their rules, have their standards applied to me? I can't do that. I can't do that. I don't want to do that. That's too much pressure. I'm too scared. And plus, why do they even want that? It's not, my contribution is not going to be what they think it's going to be. And so you're feeling all the classic things that Cancerians go through when pressure is put on them and something becomes expected. But what's expected in this case is for you to, well, yeah, come back out of your shell. So of course it feels like it's been ripped away. Because you can't get on stage with your shell. You can't. And you can't connect with people from within your shell. One of the biggest themes about this year for you is the connecting with other people. People who have great connections of their own, people who can really help you in the material world, people who can add a lot of financial stability in your life. These are work deals, these are promotions, these are expansions. And all the while, somewhere inside, this feels like a tower moment to you. Which is fine. It's fair. But considering that this energy lasts all year, you may want to reassess your relationship to this coming out party. Now, you can control it if you want to. You can control it in that you can allow people to connect with you and be a part of your life before they come rushing in on their own and try to make those connections. You can assess ahead of time. You have a whole year now. You know the skills that you need to pick up. You know the skills you need to refresh, especially if you're a Cancer rising. You know what needs to go into this year for the quality of your output and the quality of your giving and the quality of your work to be the best that it can be. So there's two ways to look at that. You can be upset about that. You can feel insulted by not having the right qualifications, or you can be very matter of fact about it and roll with it and accept that there are certain things that you're not qualified to do and go get those qualifications. If you have that kind of rough and ready approach to the year, where you're really not taking things personally, which is really hard to do when the shell is first ripped away. So this feeling that you're having in February is not going to last, where you just feel super vulnerable and it feels completely out of your control. You can feel every little thing, but it doesn't seem to have a purpose. Why is this happening? It seems unnecessary. That's because you're going through this initial shock of being pushed out in front of the world again. But this is something that ultimately you have a lot of control over. If you decide that you're not going to let yourself feel every little thing as a personal insult, right? Especially when people talk to you about the quality of your giving, you're going to want to, part of you is going to want to eviscerate them. Like, how dare you? That's not even something that's up for discussion. You can't talk to me about the quality of my giving. This is sacrosanct. You're talking to me about things that should not be mentioned, you know, but people are going to mention it and they have things to say, and a lot of it has to do with work, right? Places where your ego really has to take a back seat and can keep you from making great progress because it wants to only hear what it wants to hear. So there are a lot of situations coming up where you have to be the one that keeps your ego in check, because otherwise it will constantly feel like your ego is being attacked. Now, one of the traditional meanings of that devil card is, you are the one that needs to kill this ego-driven thing inside you. Nobody else can do it. If you are seeing the world right now as ganging up on you, if you're seeing the world as being really cruel to you, it's because you're taking everything super personally, and that's your ego being activated, and that's you living through your ego. If that's the choice you make, or if that's the only way that you know how to live, this year becomes really difficult, because it's a year of assessing and becoming better. And that can't happen if every time there is a direction that is indicated, like, if you take this direction, you will get better, you will know more, you will be able to contribute more. If every time that new direction opens up, you are taking it personally and getting upset and kind of channeling that to your ego and waiting for your ego to respond to it, there are a million good opportunities that you will miss in the next 12 months. And every one of those opportunities is only meant to refine you and make you better. So one of the things about this, the Chariot being first, right? One of the things about the Chariot being first is that this is a year of self-awareness. This is a year where you have to learn to look at yourself from the outside, which means completely devoid of emotion. So once you can start looking at yourself from that totally objective point of view, one of the first things that's going to occur to you is where your skill set could be better, where your contribution could be better. One of the most important ways that this sense of yours is going to turn on is in that Queen of Pentacles arena, which is someone who has decided that they are going to do this for themselves. They're not waiting on anyone to provide anything for them. If you can get yourself into that mental state, throughout this year, you will just continue, inshallah, to win and win and win. Because it is that lack of self-awareness that truly drives the problems within a Cancerian's life. It is that inability to step out of the shell metaphorically and see yourself from the outside and say, aha, this is what's truly going on, and make an honest assessment of yourself. This is something that is usually completely off limits to you. And it can be the source of your greatest weakness, that others can see what you can't see. So as painful as this process seems right at the beginning here in February, please don't run from it. Because once you gain this self-awareness, it really does fill such a hole in your armor. It makes you so much stronger, so much less open to manipulation, right? So much more adept at protecting your boundaries. Because you can see the boundaries clearly from outside of yourself. Within yourself, it's very hard for you to understand when people are violating your boundaries and when you are violating theirs. Okay? But once you're outside of the shell, the boundaries become really clear. And along with the clarity of where they are, what else becomes really clear is who is traversing those boundaries and where you are in fact taking advantage of other people. So there's many, many good points to being ripped out of the shell, but right now none of that makes an impression because it's too chaotic, right? I mean, just look at what you're thinking about. You're thinking about the material world. You're thinking about money. You're thinking about family. You're thinking about family connections. You're thinking about that larger family structure. Oh no, what if I don't have it? Oh no, tower moments. What if I never get it? Oh no, I guess this means I need to toughen up. I guess this means it's all on me now. Now that is one way that you can take this energy, and that would be very, very destructive. Sure, you could do that. You could make it into that. This just means that I'm the only person I can count on now, and nothing's ever going to go the way I want it to go. That's a super fatalistic way to look at it, but I can see how some of you could get there right now. But let's break that down as it actually is, instead of how the panicked, triggered mind would bake things down, right? The Chariot is saying it's time to get out of that rut. You have tried long enough to reconcile this dark and light of the situation within yourself. You have tried long enough, weighing the possibilities and kind of delaying the start of this race. The Chariot says, now it doesn't matter. Now it's time to move. Now you've got to find a way forward, no matter what you think, about the light side of this and about the dark side of this, no matter what you think is right or wrong. Now you've got to make a decision. So that right there, that initial card is get out of your rut. Okay? Now, the most productive way to deal with that is to channel that straight into your work, straight into your money. This is the bag I want. This is what it looks like, right? The amount, this is how much I would like to make. This is how much I want in the bank. This is how the kind of lifestyle that I want. And then once you have those two things together under your belt and you're committed to it, I am committed to breaking out of this rut. I am committed to moving forward. I am committed to doing this through my work. That's the primary place where I want to focus this energy. Then once you get in that mode and the Saturnian energy comes in and says, yeah, okay, well, if that's what you want to do, then here's the list. You're missing this, 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 and this. These are the things that you really need before you can actually have that output that you either wish you had or that you were imagining that you had, right? Then you'll be able to really give the thing that you want to do, the thing that you want to create, the money you want to make. You'll be able to contribute something that's of a lot more value. Now, if your mindset is that I'm getting out of a rut and I need to move forward and I want to make money, then if Saturnian energy comes in and says, okay, well, what you need to do that is this and this and this and this, that's much easier to swallow because your mindset is already in that direction of this is not personal, this is business. Okay, so that's one of the ways to get out of the emotions that you're feeling right now. Right now, what you're feeling, as funny as it sounds, is that you're emotional, you're falling into an emotional rut about being in a rut. See, February has made it clear to you that you're in a rut. Or more accurately, that you were in a rut. Okay, so now the natural tendency of Cancerians is to be regretful about that. So now there is this emotional rut forming of, oh man, I was in a rut for so long. How much time has been wasted, so much I could have done, so much that could have happened. Nope, that thinking will keep you stuck all year long. And that thinking will be pervasive. It'll come back over and over again and try to drown you. But you've got to have your priorities very straight this year, and you've got to have a plan, a vision, some sort of, right, something that's guiding you through this year, the thing that keeps you motivated. What is that? What is your idea that you want your life to look like? Excuse me. And if you keep that ideal central, then everything starts to fall into the proper categories, and you're not taking things personally, and you're not taking it as painful comments on yourself, right? It becomes something constructive. It becomes something positive. It becomes something that you can use to move forward. Now, once you do that, what you realize is that there are several, and you will throughout the year, is that there's several aspects of your life where you thought that your giving and your output was on point. It was on 100, especially when it comes to the people you love. Now, to realize this year that that might not be the case, that's even worse than figuring out that there's some skills you need to acquire to do better at your job. So it's like, okay, I'm not good enough when it comes to my job, and I'm not good enough when it comes to love. And you see how easily you can then, once again, fall into that place of despair. But no ruts for us. Not emotional, not physical, not financial. We're done with all of them. So what do you do with that knowledge? Your level of giving, the quality of your giving is not what you think it is. People need more from you than you're giving. For a while, yes, that is definitely going to feel like a tower moment. But what happens after that? What happens once the tower moment is over and you're still feeling like you need to improve your level of giving? You get over taking it personally. You get over being upset about it, right? Maybe it'll take you a couple months, but what then? Well, what the astrology suggests, and obviously what the cards suggest as well, is that you need to grow up and be very practical about this. You need to be realistic. The Queen of Swords is sitting right there saying, what are you getting upset about? What are all these tower moments about? I don't understand what's going on with you. Yeah, okay, it's tough to hear. It's tough to hear. And the response is, no, but I was giving everything. Okay, and I know it's tough to hear when you're giving everything for someone to tell you it's not enough. But if that's how you're going to take this, you're not going to make any progress. It's not to insult you. It's not to put you down. It's not to in any way diminish the amount or the quality of your care. It's to make you understand that sometimes you are really blind to what people actually need, and you want to give to them not because you want to help them, but because you need to give. Yes, I know how difficult that is to hear. And that's okay. And this is really kind of emblematic of how the year goes. It's these very uncomfortable truths that we have a really hard time letting go of. Why? Because they directly appeal to our ego. You know, a Cancerian can feel like shit about a million things in their life, but you can't tell them that they don't love the people they love. That is a source of comfort for them, because no matter how much you can put them down or say, you don't really fit into this society the way you should, and you should be a lot more realistic, and you should be a lot more money-minded, and you should be a lot more this or a lot more that, the one thing that they know that you cannot fault them on is how they love the people that they love. So what happens when that starts to come into question? Well, first, keep your head, says the Queen of Swords. Keep your head. You needing to fix the way you love people, you needing to amend the way you treat people so it will be better for you and them, is something that's going to take a long time for you to understand. It's going to take you about a year. Because you have to understand, it's not just about the level of contribution and how it affects the other person. It's also how much it affects you, how much of yourself you have to sacrifice for the kind of giving that you're doing, right? So a lot of you, what you're going to run up against, especially towards like May into July, is I'm giving to such an extent that I am killing myself in the process. I am ruining myself in the process. So many of you aren't even going to have to deal with like the scathing realization that people around you wish you would love them differently. Many of you are going to come to the conclusion the other way around, like, this is terrible for me. Why am I doing this? And for those of you who feel like you're drowning under the weight of February, it's because this sort of theme, excuse me, it's already appearing in your life. You're already starting to see the beginnings of this, right? Where people are kind of questioning what you do for them. You're questioning yourself and your worth, especially when it comes to work. You're having all these anxieties and worries when it comes to your value, and if people can see your value, and your own questions about your value are beginning to pop up. This is all normal considering the year that you are about to have. Now, one of the most important ways that you can save yourself a lot of grief this year is to be as creative as possible. You have tried your hardest to hide from that creativity. You have pushed it into your back brain. Some of you have even declared that you have quit doing whatever it is that you used to do creatively that really gave you purpose, that really settled your soul. And no matter how you find your way back there this year, you do. If you don't give in to these impulses, to these chance encounters, to whatever it is that brings you back to your creativity, if you don't give in to them, it will only harm you. The magic potion or spell that gets you out of this year and gets you out of the trauma and gets you out of that pitfall, that huge pitfall of taking things personal, creativity. If you are locked into a creative process or a creative endeavor that will take you through the year, even if it's just you doing small projects for yourself, it doesn't matter. It will act as a buffer to your ego. And interestingly, your astrology says that that thing that you pick back up, that you pour your creativity into, that you allow yourself to open up to again, that thing actually has the potential to make you quite some money. Because whatever that thing is, the nature of that game has changed since you last were in it, even if it was just a couple of years ago. So you can see now how all these different aspects of the year are working together to push you into a very vulnerable but very open state where you're not afraid, you're actually vulnerable and you're strong and you're open, and your creativity is a door into yourself. You're creating the quintessential open experience by allowing your creativity out, giving people a window into yourself. And then you'll start to really feel like, yes, the quality of my contribution. Yes, the nature of my giving is so good. And that's when those natural fears that Cancerians are born with about their worth and about their talent, that's when that stuff starts to truly dissipate. And the really amazing thing is that if you tap into your creativity this year, this becomes an asset that you don't forget about next year. This is something that becomes such an integral part of you that you continue to pour yourself into year after year after this, because you finally understand that your creativity, your expression, the sensitivity and vulnerability and openness that's needed to even create this expression is your highest contribution. And if you learn that well and stick to that and make that your identity, make that the thing that grounds your identity, then you receive something in the year of the tiger that changes your life. It completely changes the trajectory of your life. Because what it does is it gives you this sense of inherent value that so many of you right now don't have, and it's part of the reason that you feel yourself reeling in every direction, right? This year has started and it's asking me all about value. Don't ask me this. Like, I don't know what to do with this. I feel offended. My feelings are hurt. I don't even know why this is a conversation. Like, where did this even come from? And where the fuck is my shell? Where did it go? Who took it? Thieves. I get it. But if you look at this on a year-long timeline, it starts to make a lot of sense. You're right at the beginning. It's okay. Don't push too hard. Don't get too upset with yourself. Understand how monumental and pressure-filled this process is for you, and how it really wants you to battle that one thing that you have the most trouble with, and that's trust. You know, when we don't trust others, it's generally because we don't trust ourselves. And when we don't trust ourselves, creativity becomes a burden. Unrealized creativity becomes a poison in us because we don't have the necessary trust to get it out. But you do, and you can. And it starts with first trusting yourself enough to express yourself honestly. And it starts with allowing other people the trust to express themselves honestly. This year puts you on a road to great truth. And it turns you into a superhero if you let it. So don't worry. Naked and afraid, I get it. But what about the power that nakedness brings? Think about it. Your vulnerability will shine as your greatest strength and the greatest conduit to your creativity. It's just waiting for your fear to get out of the way. Your timidness. Your unwillingness to make too much of a splash. That's not going to work anymore. That's not going to work anymore. We want all of you. We want all of you now, Cancer. And that's a big part of it too, right? How can I be totally open and vulnerable and express myself when there are parts of me that no one's ever seen, that I would rather keep hidden? No, thank you. It's all this truth and vulnerability and openness. No, thank you. No. We'll love you even after we see those parts. We promise. I know you don't think so, but we will. Don't worry. Love you. I'll see you in the extended right now.